conflict resolution will automatically go away as soon as you start your focus on growth. I mean, it took a little longer for me, but I think eventually, I think you should get there. So every time when there was a conflict, I should allow everybody to speak their words out. And then once it is done, then we'll say, okay, let's go back to our growth. So I wanted to have this firm to be a 50-member team in 5 years. Okay, let's talk through what is your input. Can it make this happen? What is your input? Can this make it happen? There's a possibility that you might be wrong, someone else will be right. And the conflict resolution automatically start coming down as long as you're not taking those as your problems rather than they are the inputs for your firm to grow.
Hello everyone, Ashok here. Thank you for tuning in to this 6th episode of Indian Startup Stories. Today, our guest is Vijayendra Rao, CEO and co-founder of Tech Canopy Software Labs, a technology startup based out of Bangalore, targeting to solve the needs of digitization for companies with its services and products in various domains. In this episode, Vijayendra talks about his schooling, background, his hunger to learn computers in early days, the urge and passion to start a company of his own while working in IT, formation of the company, his vision on the future job market, how he picked the founding team, and tips to come to a common ground before starting business. Why is he not interested in venture capitalists who were ready to invest in his firm? Ongoing challenges and reliefs, COVID impacts, what could go wrong in a startup environment, how he maintains his continuous learnings to keep up to date in the market, and much more. So let's jump in. Hi Vijayendra, thank you for coming on to Indian Startup Stories today. Welcome.
Thank you, Ashok. I'm very happy to be here and thanks for the invite.
My pleasure. Please share about your background, studies, and career, how you started.
So I'm actually a typical school kid when I was a very small studying from school. And if you look at the overall background, I actually studied in a village and in a Kannada medium. And it's a typical simple core education of most of the Indian kids back in 80s, 90s, right? So, and then I did go for college in a town nearby, and then I never thought I want to do an engineering, but however, back in, I think I was in 12th grade, I always has this concept of, oh, there is something called as a computer, it can do a lot of things, so I want to know about it. So that's kind of a story. And then I think I really want to learn about it. What is it all about? And I did. There's no internet, right? You had to talk to somebody to understand. So there was a lot of couple of institutes of computer institutes there were in the town, and we used to go and visit. All I knew was, oh, there is something which can do a lot of magics, but I did join some institute, to be honest. So didn't do any magic, but then later I did join engineering, and I did my engineering. When I the initial thought was just do an engineering, but from day one I had this thought that I really want to study this creature, or a crazy creature for me, which is a computer. So that was the thought process, and I did study, and there was a lot of enthusiastic with respect to programming, and I really want to learn it. So that's how the engineering journey went through. However, there is a big problem of English, which is not an issue for a lot of people. People think it's a big issue. It's not a big issue at all. And then it's okay. And I did go through different sets of labs, and all that will give you a lot of knowledge. And then joined my own college as a teaching professor in the beginning, because I didn't get a job, because back then I think it was not so easy to get a job if you don't come from a greater institute. So you have to come from this big giant institutes of Bangalore to get a good job. But I was very confident that I'm going to get a job, because I was very good at programming. And then after, I think 6 or 8 months later, I did get a job in Satyam. So I had to move to Hyderabad, and that's how the journey started. So it was actually a very good change in life, very good thing for life, where I'm actually moving out of my hometown. That's one piece, and second thing is I'm going to an corporate life, and there you get to learn a lot of things. And a few years in the career, early years itself, I did move to US. So I got an opportunity there, and I had to go there, and I did stay there for a long time, and then back from there in 2015. And after that, by then, most of the learning what I have, most of the things I know about business, most of the things I know about technology solutions, what is actually magic of computer for the real world, I learned all that in customer place. And then once I'm back from States, I think I did join Mindtree here, and it is so two reasons for that. Again, it is very close by. That's one real reason. That was one of the biggest dilemma most of the people has. Where should I join? So my home is here. Where should I go and all that? And then I think right after that, I kind of made my mind. I think I should do something, and that's basically what I have. This 15 years of career, which got automatically built without even planning anything.
Okay. So you came back and you immediately started a company. That's how it sounds.
I wanted to
like
I really wanted to start a company right after I come back, but there was one problem I had. So now that we're talking about it, so I didn't know how software development works from India. Because I stayed most of my time there. I know how actually the work happens from India because I was on the other side of the and the overseas. So I was actually able to know, okay, I have a team of 50 people back in India. They're going to do the work and give it to me. But I never part of this side where I was actually delivering. So I didn't know how actually offshore delivery works, which is very critical for uh, as a leader. If you're not as an entrepreneur, as a leader, you should know how to manage your team sitting right next to them. So sitting in overseas, I might say that, oh no, it's very difficult for them. I might think, it's late for them. I'm calling them at middle of the night. It might be late for them, but you will not realize because it's day for you there. So if you sit here at talking to your team to work at let's say 8 o'clock in the evening, you know that you're ruining the evenings. So that is what I really want to understand before I start something, and I shouldn't have an imagination that I run my Indian startup sitting here, assume that I'm in other country.
US, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So what is this company about, Tech Canopy? Can you explain it?
Sure. So Tech Canopy, right now we are mainly focusing on two streams. One is the consulting, is what we do. So we have a bunch of enthusiasts. We get together and we do architectural consulting, mainly on solutions to a bigger problem than a smaller solutions which will go for a small product development or nothing. So we do all the way from cloud solutions, enterprise problem solution, or it could be even we go and help somebody else that you have a product built as a startup. We actually go and assess their product and see, what are the areas you need to improve and what are the things you need to take care in case of a consumer's point of view, right? For example, if you're building a product for Europe, have you taken care of GDPR? So you're building a product for California, have taken care of some of the regulations. Not just that, and also when it comes to data, we also have expertise in our data. So we deal with the data platform and those related activities as well. That's one piece of the work. And the second piece of the team, we are focusing on product development. We have a couple of products with us. So one of them is an energy management product, which is focusing more on enterprises who can know how to save energy and track them. And it's more of a regulation for most of the countries, but it is going to come slowly in India. We really wanted to focus on that area. That's one piece. And second area is fintech. We have a fintech CRM, which is we are building it from scratch. I know there are a lot of CRMs out there, but this product is mostly for IFAs Indian individual financial advisors who are in India, who sells investments and kind of a role for Indian citizens or country, focusing more on how can they grow money. This CRM is not different than any CRMs out there, but it is very customized, a specific version of CRM required for them. For example, it knows KYC. It knows what is a customer portfolio. It knows what are the investment that person has. So it's one place for managing all their customers. So that's two items right now running, and we did deploy one of the energy product in one of our customers recently, and Invest CRM is also in prototyping. We are actually given for a couple of customers to try it out. It's going well, actually.
Okay. How did it all start, the journey when it begins? I guess you directly registered a company, you were working in Mindtree, and can you talk about that exciting story?
Sure, definitely. So to become a entrepreneur is more of an entrepreneur. I didn't know this even word, to be honest, back then. But I think I still remember when I was in my engineering. I think I was in eighth sem or something. I don't remember. Sometime in the last final year. So there was this guy called Suhas Gopinathan, who's the first CEO, youngest CEO who studied in RV College, and there was this big article came in, I think in Times of India, and somebody actually cut it out and give it to me and say, "Hey, Vijendra, can you just put this in the notice board in the CS department? This guy has created his own firm." I think, if I'm not wrong, I think he did spend a lot of time in this internet cafe and built a company. So there's like, oh yeah, I have to build some company, and back then it was like I have to build a company, become overnight famous, overnight making money, right? So that's what when I was in college. So, but when I joined the corporate, my focus was to learn. I had no focus of building something on my own, but there were a lot of people keep telling me, start something. You have that. I can see that light. Start something. Start something. When I was even back in US, people said, start something. I think Vijendra, you have this fire. Just do something. And then I think over the years, when I was almost 10 years experienced, then I realized, I think actually do something about it, because a lot of people are telling me, not one person could be wrong, and a lot of people cannot be wrong. Even sometimes when I met some of my customers, even customers told me about it, saying, you know what, Chandra, if you have this fire, I think you should do something about it.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, I think then I realized, okay, there is something definitely which is giving me hint I had to start something. So when I traveled back, as I said, to India, the first thing I did is I just went and called my brother. So actually, I have a twin brother. He is an entrepreneur from 10 years. So he's like a big inspiration. So yeah. So I asked him, okay, tell me this. So what I should do to start a firm? Then he said, all you do is registration. And then I asked him, okay, if I do registrations just like other countries, I inquired, do I have to pay any tax? Do I have to maintain any business and something? He said, no, nothing like that. You just start a firm. It not necessarily mean that you have to actually run business. I said, okay, let me do that as a first step. So I did register the firm. I was not the director. I just told my dad, can you be the director of my company for some time, please? So he said, okay. And then I made him the director and this kept the company as it is. So
family director.
Yeah, family director, and told him be that. And then I thought about, okay, now I register the company. What should I do, right? The name itself is also that initially I thought I'll do some product. Then after some time I realized, you know what? I think I'm very good at customer management. I think do some consulting with respect to business. Then later I realized, no, I think I should do something with respect to architecture. Like thoughts were keep on running around. So then I said, you know what? Let's call it as a set of things we do under one umbrella with the base of technology. So I said, okay, you know what? Let it be Tech Canopy. And that's the name basically started with. And we are actually trying to do the same thing. We are not going to go all over the place, but we are actually not just a one business. We are trying to cover a couple of more.
How did you manage the transition? Like you started as a developer and now you are a co-founder and CEO. You had a great career trajectory as well. So this transition, being an employee and parallelly you also registered your company, both going together. So how did you manage like taking both employee and entrepreneurial things parallelly, and how do you make that switch?
So initially, I think, as you said, right, my focus was completely on learning. So until to a stage, I never thought I want to start something and struggle. So that was I think that's a good part of being in a corporate where they teach you a lot of things which you thought your knowledge you know it. Say, for example, how to engage with a customer and what is customer needs. Doesn't matter whether you are right or wrong, it's always at the end of the day, are you solving the customer problem or not? So such things which automatically came, and I'm very thankful to Satyam for sending me. I think I was in a year and a half experienced when I was in US. So I mean,
Okay.
today I don't think people get an opportunity to go there, but I was learning a lot of things out there. And then
Yeah, it
uh,
takes time a little
yeah,
bit.
it takes time, right? You have to learn. So but when I want to start something, the just registering a form doesn't mean that you have to act on it, because do you really want to act on it? I think you should also think about what you're going to work on, what you're going to spend time on, right? And because I was working for Mindtree, there is enough responsibilities which I had, which I can never escape from. Plus, uh, as a developer, to be honest, I'm still a developer. I love my job. I mean, you
That's
have no idea. People tell me how much you have so much energy from morning till evening, because with when it comes to programming, when it comes to problems, when it comes to technology, I don't mind be up for like 5 days, like that kind
okay.
of a
So you
person I
still
am.
code, is it?
Yeah, I love coding. I'll always tell my developers that, sometimes just give me one Jira ticket, let me take it and code, just small one, so once in a while, because I personally believe coding is almost like a breathing. Just because you know how to run, you can't stop breathing. So you still need to breathe.
Hmm.
So you need to have that is more of a personal for me than anything else. Not necessarily that all entrepreneurs in technology has to code, but that's how I do. And because I used to take the responsibility, I used to manage a team of around 70 to 80 people in Mindtree. Even then, my more focus is on in Mindtree, because it is a customer delivery instinct, and somebody has trusted me there. So all I used to do is I used to think what all I can do about my new farm in when I'm sleeping, or I'm talking to my wife over the weekend, somewhere in the vacation, something like that. It was working.
Hmm.
But I think 2019, I took a trip to US. I was talking to one of my customers, and that's when I realized I think enough is enough. I think I should give my 100% dedication to do
Hmm.
something. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I know a lot of people who can call me back and give me a job, right? So it
Okay.
doesn't
Hmm.
matter at the same time, because at the end of the day, whether I do technology work in my firm or if I do it in with any other firm, I have the same dedication, I have the same enthusiasm, I have the same love towards my job. So it doesn't actually differ. So that's when I came back and I quit, and I wanted to start full time. It was actually on January last year. So that's when
Okay. It's not even
I
yeah, it's just here.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
almost a year. And I think in the Feb, I went to my talk to my dad, and I changed my directorship and all those logical and administrative things to myself, and then started this farm.
Okay, that's interesting. Vijendra, some of the big tech giants like Google, Apple have already announced long back that they have relaxed the policies to recruit people without any engineering degree, right? If you clear their company evaluation, they offer you a job. Do you think the similar thing will happen in India? Like, the education qualification or the institution a person comes from, does it play a big role in changing times to think business at the young age?
Well, two pieces to it. One is the education, and other piece is the qualification. So they're two different to me, honestly. Or most of the time, people actually club them together. So I
Hmm.
don't. So basically, your education is something you can survive, and
Hmm.
qualification is what you can do, right? So education, definitely everybody needs it, and education doesn't mean English. Education means you are aware of what is happening around you, around the world. As long as you're able to communicate, talk to people, you're all set, right? And qualification, again, you had to be an engineer to join a firm, not necessarily the truth, because uh, to join a firm, you need to have this thought process. I personally believe, when I talk to uh, uh, candidates or talk to folks to bring them into my team, the first thing I talk to them is about, what do you know, right? I don't do an interview saying, do you know this? No, I just want to understand what you know, right? So, okay, if you know A, okay, it is not what I'm using. I want B. Can you do B? For example, you are an
What value
electrical,
they are
yeah, what value are you bringing in? So you're an electrical engineer, perfect. So you are going to, can you come and help my team with, let's say, programming? Do you have any exposure towards programming? He probably, the guy might say, no, I don't, but I'm willing to learn and to become a software person. Then I said, oh yeah, sure, why not? I can give an opportunity for you. That's one thing. Second thing is, as you said, these big organizations, they're coming and looking for people who are not just engineering, is because the talent doesn't really uh, stay because you know engineering. The talent just exists everywhere. You just need to identify the right team. Okay, you might be really good at math, and most of the cases, I think, I'll talk to people where, why you had to know math and science and not biology for you to get into software. I said, no, it's not, nothing like that. A person has to be a little logical to make sense when it comes to computers, because they're machines, so they can't react to your emotions, they only react to your logic. So I think as long as a person has a logical capability, not necessarily any education matters. Of course, you can just join and do any work. And personally, when I talk to a lot of students, I because I always believe in students can do a big revolution in India. So when I go to colleges, I talk to people, and I'll tell them, what are you guys studying? So they'll say, I'm actually studying Java 4, Java 5.5 or something. There's a Java 12 out there. So the gap between what you are studying and what is out there. So I'll tell them the same thing. There are a lot of firms, even in India today, have this thought process of, oh, you have to have 60 in your 10th, 60 in your 12th, 60 in your engineering, and no backlogs, no, a lot of restrictions. That is only because they're big firms. They can't come and evaluate each and candidate to get them into the firm. But startups don't do that. Startups, we actually talk to each and every person, understand the person, what he is,
Yeah.
what is his capability, and then bring him them. So I think in a broader view, I think in 5 to 10 years down the line, I think it's going to be more simplified for anybody to apply for any kind of a job. And also, I think I see this thought process in most of the people I talk to, that you definitely have an option to switch your job even you are 40. It's as simple
Mhm.
as any person can get into any job, as long as you have
Yeah.
this open mind for learning.
Yes. So I see that you call your founding team as technology and management enthusiasts. So how should a group of people having unique ideas should come to a common ground of understanding and start agreeing to take it forward to start a business?
So two things here. So one is, again, initially we always think, I'm going to, you will always imagine. So I mean, personally, I imagined my team. Okay, you know what, I need to have a guy who knows coding just similar to me. I need to
Mhm.
have a guy who knows more about customer connects. So I need to have a guy who knows a little bit about sales. Like, that is your imagination. But actually, in reality, it doesn't work that way. In reality, what happens is, you just happen to talk to people about what are you thinking about, and they just latch on. Honestly speaking, uh, all those people I spoke to personally, can you join my team? No one joined.
Mhm. Okay.
Literally, not even a single person joined me. Either they say, that's not my cup of tea. Some people said, I
Mhm.
think it's too risky. I don't want to. It's not that I'm telling you that you're not be successful, but I don't think I can help you right now, kind of a scenario. But there are a lot of my team who are with me right now, or most of them, or are just casually discussion become a business partner discussion. So, and some of them actually called me back and said, "Hey, that day you said something. I was also thinking about it. So, do you think
Okay.
this also we can include it?" So, actually, somebody else is thinking on behalf of me. That's the right person to include into your team. That's one. Second thing is the management, the experience. I always tell everybody that experience is not a shortcut. You have to go through your years to gain that
Yeah.
experience and meeting people.
True.
So I think the management point of view, it's not necessarily the people management. It's also about how do you take, how do you manage a tough situation when as an entrepreneur or being a part of a team which is very small. You have no look back because your team is not so big. Oh, I can hire somebody overnight. You can't do that. You still be able to manage it. So I think I have a good team with me who are actually making things possible. So it's actually I'm blessed on that.
Yeah, the core members, right? They are founding team.
Yeah.
So when you have a group of people who are like-minded, so what are the common conflicts that could arise? Because everyone are with same mindset and they still have different opinions. So how do you handle the conflicts?
So the conflict will automatically come when even during the brainstorm itself. I think when you're doing a brainstorming sessions with your so-called founding team or so-called set of team, they're not necessary to be part of your team. There are a lot of my friends used to come and participate in sessions over the weekends about what is my thoughts about building the firm or what are the areas I have to focus on. Even that point in time, there is a conflict. It's more of the reason behind the conflict is that I was thinking that I was right. I already thought through. I know what I should do. And this who's this guy coming and telling me that this is not right. So that was the very initial. Uh, I might say more of an ego clash, to be honest,
Yeah,
because the guy
changes the
who's
momentum.
change the momentum, and the guy in front of you is also same experience or even more closer to you, and they tell you the truth. Doesn't work out, and then conflict resolution will automatically go away as soon as you start your focus on growth. I mean, it took little longer for me, but I think eventually, I think you should get there. So every time when there was a conflict, I should allow everybody to speak their words out, and then once it is done, then we'll say, okay, let's go back to our growth. So I wanted to have this firm to be a 50-member team in 5 years. Okay, let's talk through what is your input. Can it make this happen? What is your input? Can this make it happen? There's a possibility that you might be wrong, someone else will be right, and the conflict resolution automatically start coming down as long as you're not taking those as your problems rather than they are the inputs for your firm to grow. So I think that's going to reduce your discussion around conflicts.
Okay, that's pretty good advice. And coming to the responsibility share, I mean, you have conflicts because you're all talking about the same concept. But for running an organization, you need to share the responsibilities within the company. So how do you share the responsibility? One taking care of technology aspects and one taking care of finance. So because everyone coming from the tech background, so how does that split up, and how should one manage?
Sure. One thing is, I think as part of corporate life, right, we already kind of learned about taking responsibility, but we have never learned sharing responsibilities. Trust me, because the reason is we don't share. It's either I do it or you do it. Okay, but it's not like let me keep doing it. Can you take a piece of it? It doesn't come in a corporate because it could be because of the ecosystem which is already out there. Because you cannot say that no, I did half, he did half. I am not responsible. He's also not responsible. You can't say that in a corporate, right? But when it comes to your own firm, as you said, is absolutely right. You start jumping onto in the initial, I think 3-4 months, I was literally stepping into every meeting. I was literally on every call, every discussion, and I was going to and saying, no, this is not the right thing to do. This is not the right thing to do. And then, so one of my team members said, "Can you just step out of this meeting, please? If I really need you, I'll tell you." So I was like, okay, all right. I think I'm doing too much involvement in things which are not necessary. And then after some time, I realized I think this is definitely a learning. I don't think you're going to get it anywhere outside if you're not starting your own firm. Then I realized I think I should make some free time for getting status, not getting the details about the project, or not details
Mhm.
about what is happening around. Of course, being an experienced person, they did come to me anyway. Eventually, a lot of
Mhm.
after 3 4 months, I started going to every meeting. I should focus on, what is the strategy for the company, what is the my customer base should be, and on that. So then people come in and say, hey, look, this is my problem. We're trying to solve it from last 2 days. I'm not able to solve it. Do you have any ideas? So then I used to have a lengthier session with them, and then we used to eventually solve it, or we're going to improvise the problem with more details, and then somebody else will look at the solution. But that is something, it's going to come over the time. Today, if you ask me this morning, um, a lot of the activities are taken care by teams. They just come and
Mhm.
tell me, Vijendra, this is ABC are required. But one
Okay.
important thing which I always remember is customers are first. And when it comes to customer, I have clearly said everybody that I had to be involved. So because
Okay.
there is a possibility that that is an experience that people are learning, and because we cannot give that excuse to a customer that, oh, sorry, my team is still not capable
Yeah.
enough to explain you the problem, so the issues in the delivery, I'll come and explain it later. That doesn't happen.
True.
So I think it's
Yeah.
automatically comes from your team as a learning.
Yeah, that's important. And I know you have said no to multiple venture capitalists, right? You are not the man towards VCs. So they wanted to invest out on your company, but why no to VCs in your path?
Very good question. A lot of people ask me this question. So, and people actually ask me, Vijendra, I trust you. I'm not even kidding. Trust you. You don't have to return my money for next 5 years. Just take this money. There are a lot of people who actually approached me. I personally, I always had this thought of bootstrap your firm, because the reason being freedom. I personally believe freedom, because when I worked in a corporate world, we already had. I personally have experienced a lot of times. I have designed a solution or designed something or prepared all the possible solutions for a customer, and we're not able to implement because the customer didn't like it, not because the solution is not right. So because the customer didn't like it, so it means just
Mhm.
because customer individual uh, you know mm, perspective can change the solution or change the way your outcomes. Think about the investor also coming in. So it's like,
Mhm.
then I most of my job will be from morning till evening is please the customer, please the investor, please the customer, please the investor, which is not what I really want to do. Because honestly speaking, when I started my firm, I wanted to fail, so that at least I
Mhm.
know whatever imaginations I have in my mind is not actually true. But I mean, for God grace, things are going good. We had a bad year as 2020, and of course 2021 is here. We are very much excited to get things new. But when it comes to venture capitals, I think I personally believe, and a lot of folks I talk in meetups and startup mentors, they always suggest the same thing: don't take venture capitals in the early stages, because you don't know whether you are successful or a failure. Of course, once your idea or once your business model is stable, or you know that it's going to make money, you want to scale, of course you can go to venture capital. There's nothing wrong in it, because by then at least you have all these points to justify why somebody has to pay you money. Okay.
Yeah, your ground is settled, so you
Yeah,
you have
you don't
traveled.
necessarily, you
Yeah.
know the pros cons of the business, and somebody asks you an instant question about, oh, what if this doesn't happen? You will have an answer for it. So instead of that, that's one. Second thing is, most of the times, the friends and family are who are going to come and give you money, right? So those are people like, they trust in you. They think that because you did an amazing job in as a corporate employee. You got so many
Okay.
awards. You've been part of so many ceremonies in all these corporates. They call your friends and family. You will be receiving an award. They think that, oh, he can do an amazing job as an entrepreneur. Let's give him money. He'll make it double, make it triple. So that doesn't work.
Yeah, the immediate trust, right? Families and friends. Yeah.
I personally believe I think you should boost up your money. And I think for the young minds or young people who are just out of colleges, they think that, oh, you know what, I don't have any option to, make money or get money fundraised. I personally suggest take a piece of your pocket money, invest. That's what I did. I personally did run some investments for almost 1.5 to 2 years. So it make up a good amount of money. I took it out, I put it as a capital and started it. So I think you should always think about your firm as when you have a kid, you have plan, right? So similarly, you have to have a literal planning about,
Future.
okay, 5 years down the line, if my firm has to be like this, I should start spending some money from now on. So that's a suggestion I always give to people. Of course, you have to go to VC if you want to grow your business bigger. But I think in the initial stages, VC is a definite no from my end.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. You have started very recently, and relatively, it's 1 year old company.
Yeah.
Still, you are going through the challenges. So, have you started feeling the first moment of relief, or you are still going through the initial days challenges?
It is still there, honestly. I think, but there are a lot of moment of relief. You may not. You will be surprised. Even I was very happy when I spoke to a couple of folks and they said, "Yeah, sure, we'll join your firm." I was, oh, thank God, somebody is ready to join my firm. So even that is a moment of relief because somebody is talking to you and trust you to join your firm is also a moment of relief. That's one thing. Second moment of relief was, as I said, when we actually had a first demo of our energy product and first demo of our CRM product. People said, "Oh, it's actually good. I think I can try this." So that is a moment of relief. And then there was one struggles point of view. I think it's all our own imagination makes you more paranoid than actual reality because in a bigger firms when you work, right, you have this big team. They can do turnaround time will be very very faster, but you have a small team, it doesn't happen like that. So you might be thinking, I can do this prototype in 2 weeks, and you put all this sprint planning, all possible brains you have, all these strategies available in the market, but in 2 weeks nothing's going to happen. So then you will be like so frustrated. Like I really thought in 2 weeks it's going to complete, but it's not completing. But in reality, I think you have left out a lot of important aspects, which is playing. For example, how much time are you dedicating? Is a person who is part of your team is what is his knowledge level? What is his business thought process? All that we will leave it out on. We imagine it's going to happen, and those are the struggles. I think even today, the biggest thing which we're going through right now is because 2020 was a very bad year for us, to be honest. But however, we were able to sustain because of the existing customers who were able to still give us business. But 2021, where we are focusing on getting some new people, but unfortunately, we can't travel, we can't meet them. A lot of restrictions. We are trying to make a lot of things over the internet, and time zones are too difficult to manage because it's their morning, our evening, our morning, their evenings. So all that is a little difficult, but
True.
I have a lot of confidence that as long as you have a value at what you do, right, doesn't matter. Getting a customer may be delayed, but you will definitely get a customer.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. You just spoke about how challenging was it COVID, right? So
Yeah.
individually, what were the setbacks, and for company, what are the dynamics which got changed?
So very very good one. So initially, I think I as I said, I started in February, and the team was actually completely built in sometime in the early March, right? I still remember two of my team members joined on March 18th, and 25th was the lockdown. So, which is
One
fine.
week of company exposure.
Yeah, it's just we just started, we moved into an office, and then on in March. So then what to do with the office? So those challenges were which is unanticipated. And if you look at someone can help, because even every person is clueless. It's not like it's a once in lifetime kind of a problem, right? Nobody has a solution for it.
No experience, yeah.
Yeah, everybody has to experience the same thing. But I was able to talk to my team. One good thing which I learned actually from Mindtree was always give laptops. Don't give anybody desktops, which is very lame thing, but it's actually worked like a charm. So everybody has devices, and then we're able to work remotely. And my team is fantastic. So even though they are junior folks, they were able to manage remote working really, really well. Trust me, I never expected that, but we're able to manage everything remotely over the years. The only thing which was setback was we had a couple of deals supposed to be closed in the early March, which didn't happen because of COVID. Everybody started shutting down. And the crazy piece was, which is very shocking for me personally, was there were deals which we are supposed to close it, and I sent a follow-up email. It got bounced. That guy is left. And I was like,
okay.
yeah. So those are the things which nobody expected, right? So which is fine. I think 2020 was more of an opportunity, I feel, than a problem. But it taught us a lot of things we can do better. Now I don't insist my team you have to be in office. You work anywhere you want. I have no problem. I feel like now I have this opportunity to hire anybody from anywhere in India. So I don't have to literally ask them to come to Bangalore and work. So that is like a more of an opportunity than a problem.
That's a big advantage now.
Yeah, it is.
So coming to the deals part that you mentioned, as a salesperson, it is very natural to think about it. But coming from a pure tech background, there are quite a lot of startups like friends. They just catch along and start up a new business. How should one actually start switching between the hats? That how a techie can actually take immediately a role of sales and marketing person, which naturally it doesn't come along with them. So, what's your suggestion on a non-sales and marketing folks? What tips can actually help them to start thinking in terms of sales and marketing from the day one?
Okay. So I personally believe two things, right? In India, I think we're all by default salesmen. So because we know how to project ourselves. So I think if you go for a job, in 30 minutes you are actually selling yourself. You know the skill, but you don't know how to use the skill for your own needs. That's what is very important. That is where the learning come into picture. So and a second part of it is you always imagine sales means giving technical information to to somebody. So which is a very natural thing happened to me. I go to somebody in the initial days. I used to go to somebody saying, you know what, I can actually solve your AWS problem where your API gateway can do this ABC. Then
that's exactly
what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't care what this API gateway does. I don't care about what an S3 bucket does. You tell me, are you solving my problem or not? So that is something. It is a learning curve. I actually spent a lot of time in learning through what is sales pitch, what sales means, how to keep everything at a very high level, how to not to go in detail about things, and very important thing as part of sales I learned, which is of course you need a mentor and all that, is you need to know when you're discussing some sales pitch, do you even have a decision maker in that meeting, which is so important. I didn't know that. So I used to keep on giving demos to people again and again, and then somebody told me, is there a decision maker in that meeting what you're giving a demo? Did you even ask them that who the decision maker, what is the roles are? Otherwise of no waste of time. I think that's a learning you need to get into. You have a lot of, now internet is so out there, you can get to know about it. I think I spend, when it comes to learning, I use Pluralsight. I call it as technology or entrepreneurial Netflix. So just have Pluralsight. Just use Pluralsight for everything, and then you just get there. And also one important thing people have to know is that a salesperson cannot be technical. Okay.
Yeah, that's
a technical person can be a salesperson very easily, because all you'll do is you just forget what you know. And advantage of being a technical person and sales is if somebody asks you even a detailed question, you actually know the answer. Sometimes somebody else, can you do this? And so many times I said, yeah, of course.
Yeah. because you are more detail oriented person. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know how exactly it happens in the background, right? I think whether we like it or not, when we're in the meeting, when somebody is talking to you, you run your code in the back. I mean, I personally run the actual, uh, delivery uh, blueprint in my mind right there, and I can tell them it's possible or not possible. So, which is a gift from all the corporate experiences what we have.
You wear the hat of architects then.
Yeah, no, I wear the hat of architect,
Yeah.
and I think as an entrepreneur, I think I have to wear a hat of the finance guy, the salary guy, the HR guy, the interview guy, whatnot. So I do have get to wear all that, and each one has the challenges. To be honest, I didn't know in the
Hmm.
initial days how to convince a candidate to join my firm. Now I do.
Okay.
So it's it's
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
it's still the sales. You still need to
Yeah.
sell
True.
like company for a fresher to come and join your firm.
Nice. So, do you recommend students to get a job, work in a firm, and then think about business, or you recommend to have a business mindset before even they get into the corporate world?
I think I don't think it's something of a choice. It is just again, it's about the way you think about business. See, business is not necessarily that technology, software, or anything, right? So, in my opinion, I think business is same. It comes to selling something on Amazon to building a software somebody. So I think the thought process of business, I want to do something on my own, is something you need to have. If you have that fire, you just start it. As I said, you just go and register a firm at least. Do that, and then of course, if you don't have funding, you have to work for it. If you don't know how to go in this business, go and join some firm. Learn that. So don't assume that I have this amazing, great idea. People just come to me and give me money, and I become famous. That doesn't happen. And you should have two important things in your mind. Is one, keep the focus always that I had to start something on my own. That is your first primary goal. Second one is work for it. It might take 1 year, it might take 10 years, it might take 15 years. So that depends on how much you are focus on your goal of business. Then our journey will become shorter and shorter, because the more you focus, the more quicker you learn, the better you get it.
Okay, nice. So, coming to precautionary information for anyone who starts business, people who are generally head focused on one particular idea and they stream like a horse. What are the things that can go wrong for people who are focused on the product and their solutions, but not worried about the external influences that can potentially turn your business?
Uh, so this happens a lot, including yourself. So you influence yourself that what, I think it's not going to work out. I guess it just happens in 2 weeks. So I think you need to have there's this concept of MVP, they call it, right? So first
Yeah.
of all, you should actually sit, make a plan, and let the plan complete. Don't judge
Mm.
your product, judge your business model before it completes. So you are assuming that I want to, in our case, right, you want to do a consulting, right? So architecture consulting. So I shouldn't go to someone say that, hey, I do this data platform related activities and I can help you out. Somebody will come and say, you know what, actually, I have a problem in Azure on cloud. Can you help? So then I was like, oh, I know what, I think I should go towards cloud. I should do cloud consulting. That doesn't work. You
Yeah,
still had
yeah.
to stick to your plan first. Okay, let me try. Let 10 customers say that I have no opening for you for the business what you are trying to bring in. Then you think
Mm.
about it. So it's the same case with your product. So when we did the initial CRM product, with the same thing, when we went to people, they're asking like, we have other CRMs out there. What is different? Why should I use yours? So
Yeah.
then you're like, oh yeah, I know what, I think there are already a lot of products out there. I think I should start doing. No, we shouldn't. You know your
Mm.
key end users. You should focus on it and continue to do that. And the influences will be a lot, especially from home, because a lot of thought process with, of course, your spouse and your mom, dad. In my case, at least, my brother, he's part of the journey of building a firm from long time. We have a different mindset at home, at least, but a lot of people, even that is not there. So a lot of friends and family who come to my home, For them, when I started my own firm, it's not a big deal because my brother did 10 years ago where they called him an idiot. But now they don't. So now they don't tell me that, oh, you're starting a new firm. Are you? Oh, is it crazy? They don't feel that. They say, oh, okay, how is the firm going? So how much money are you making? Oh, so they don't usually ask you a question that, hey, what do you actually do? They ask you, oh, how much money you do you make? So these influences actually, you like it or not, it actually influences you differently. And your friends are very important for you. All your close friends, talk to them, tell your problem. They will definitely give you a solution. And I mean, in my case, I talked to them, and when I first time told them I'm starting this firm, they said, okay, let's talk 6 months from now. That was the idea that I got. Okay, after 6 months, when I talked to them, they said, "You know what? You have the same fire as 6 months ago. I think you can do it." I was thinking, so you're mad at some manager. So usually you have this thought process, right? I want to start something on my own. Who is going to deal with this problem in this office? So if you really want to start something, you need to have the consistently same idea for a longer time, and those influences actually can make you win or lose both. Again, it's completely you as an entrepreneur. You should know what to take, what not to take.
Nice. You run your business and also you keep learning on a day-to-day basis, right? And these days, podcast or the audio platform enables to learn more. And you yourself are a good podcast listener. So, what kind of genres do you listen to often, and what do you recommend for the next generation who wants to actually excel in their life?
Thanks. So actually, I used to read books before, but not much of a time because I can't walk while reading a book and all that limitations, or you have less time. I started listening to podcasts from a couple of years now. I think most of the podcasts in my list are all technology specific because you don't get to browse and learn. So instead, I when I walk
Yeah.
to office or when I walk to in the mornings, I'll just listen to it. The one of my top two are AWS, because most of my area of learning is AWS. I listen to them because they launch services like once a
Every
week,
week.
every week kind of
Yeah.
a scenario. I just want to know what is going on around it. And the other one is InfoQ. InfoQ is
Mhm.
a platform for architects. It's just amazing. I even have newsletter subscriptions with them. They give you amazing content, and there are this great architects who talk about how to solve these complex problems, which actually give you not really going to solve your problem, but at least give you a thought process about how to think in that angle. So those things I
Mhm.
listen. Other than that, I think these are the two major ones I listen most of my time when I have. So I think I sort of recommend, if anybody wants to be an architect or even have vision to become an architect, I recommend them to just go through InfoQ website, InfoQ podcast. Just is amazing.
Nice, good tips. Yeah, especially about that newsletters, they make a lot of difference.
Yeah, they do. Quick summary.
So, how do you stay calm during the day of chaos?
I usually what I do, right, I just shift my focus. I of course there are some cases where you actually freaking out because something is not happening, and you still have to be in the call, be in the customer. There is an escalation going on. You will be with the customer. What I usually do is I just walk out. I'll tell them I need some break. I just walk out. I usually talk to either friends, and otherwise, honestly speaking, I literally going to see some YouTube videos. You may not like it, but I do see some
Mhm.
comedy for some time
Okay.
and just remove the focus, because what happens is when you're in a stressful day, you
Mhm.
need to have a small break. The break is actually less than 5 minutes. He just give you a
Okay, that's
focus out, then come back and focus in, and it's just like a tea break. So just take it, come
nice.
back, and then deal with it, because you never know when you're doing something else, you get an idea to handle some situations.
That's a nice tips. Thank you. Moving on to the next round, fire rapid fire questions. I've listed out some questions. I'll just bring it on.
Sure.
Yes. So, the best thing which happened this month to you?
This month, I actually hired two employees for my firm, and both of them are excellent, good, and we are about to give a demo to one of our customer about one of the products. I'm very much excited, and they got a very good feedback about it. So it's a very good thing happened at least in this month for now.
Yeah. Okay, building team is most important.
Yeah.
Great. Uh, your favorite leader you follow crazily?
I don't follow anybody who's all the so-called the legends kind of a thing, but
Okay.
personally, I have few mentors. Especially, I should call out Randish Raghavan, who was my mentor in Mindtree. He's
Okay.
just amazing. I think he gave us he gave me a lot of perspective about you should start something on your own. In my personally, I still believe he's a guy who he made my journey very easy to become an entrepreneur.
Okay, next. And on the same line, next question. How do you make your mentors available to you when you need them?
So actually, that's a regular touch. So I think you should. I when I usually I speak to them often, once in a while, and always tell them if you receive my call in a weekday, I'm in trouble.
Mhm.
I usually don't call you. So if you're receiving my call on a weekday, I think I'm in trouble, or I at least I need some inputs from you, kind of a scenario. So I think that's how it works out.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily that mentor has to give you an input. It could be just an idea which they told you, or have the thought process they gave you for some other reason actually also solve the problem. Sometimes what I do is I
Okay.
just text them or I just call them.
Okay, to reassure yourself. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your one childhood activity, yeah, you still like and you're still doing?
Childhood, unfortunately, I have no option here to play. I used to play marbles a lot when I
Okay,
was a kid.
nice.
As a kid, right? So it's in a village, but you never get to do it. But my daughter has got this something called marble run, and I was actually sometimes teach her about what is this marble game you play as a kid, and she never get it, but it's a different story. But because you have this, yeah, how can you get a mud to make sure that the marble will not run far, so you'll not go far. So
Yeah,
here it's all the mosaic, and we don't get to do that.
true, true, true. Yeah. So, what does creativity means to you in one sentence?
Creativity is just not necessary to solve a problem. Just think out of the box.
Okay, nice. One habit you have to stay calm.
Actually, I do as a person from a childhood. I we have this rituals we follow in the morning. So Sandhya Vandana and all that. So I do that every day. That actually counts a lot.
Nice way of starting a day. Um, an article or a book you recently read and you liked it?
I was actually reading about the issue that happened with respect to the way the technology is coming in and may changing the way people think about it. For example, how it's cutting jobs and all that. People talking about bring technology coming into India going to make a lot of people lose job. There was an article which I was reading in on a I think it's an Indian Express. I think where people are saying no, 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 say no to technology. It's going to get rid of your jobs. I was like,
Mhm.
really? I mean, I kind of liked it because uh, this is not the image you have to give it to people. And there was one amazing footnote for that. Somebody wrote how it is not completely opposite to that. So I kind of liked it. I think I read it a couple of weeks ago.
Nice. If you want to go back and change one decision in your startup journey, what would that be?
Hmm. I don't think I have any so far.
Okay,
Or
good, good.
probably not. I probably have not got the results of them yet, so I don't know whether it's a good or
Okay,
bad.
nice. So you're on the right track. What's your retirement plan?
Well, good question. I don't know when I'm going to retire, but for sure, the thought process is whenever I decide to retire, I'll just want to go and teach. That's my passion. I
Okay.
definitely want to teach. So either it could be, but I don't know what is in future. Probably either online, or probably go to colleges and teach. I just want to uh, give away whatever I learned back to the community.
Okay, nice. That's the end of the show. It was wonderful talking to you, and it's nice having you on the show. Thank you for your time, Vijendra.
Thank you so much, Ashok, for having me here, and thanks for listening to me for such a long time. And it was great talking to you. And good luck.
My pleasure. Thank you. Okay, we are at the end of episode number 6. Thank you very much, Vijendra, for coming on and sharing the insights. And to our listeners, you can find out the episode summary in the description. Until we catch up soon, stay tuned, be motivated. Thank you.